Good afternoon or morning or whenever you're watching this, students who are currently quarantined or not here for some reason. This week, we will be working on plot. We'll be learning about the plot pyramid, specifically Gustav Freytag's plot pyramid. Now, I'm going to have you all watch a video. It's actually on Classroom already. In fact, let me go ahead and share my screen. It's attached to the assignment. So here it is, the assignment. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here in a second. But at the very bottom, you have the link to the video. It will take you right over here to Freytag's plot pyramid. Gustav Freytag was a German man who recognized a bunch of stories follow a similar pattern. He has 7 elements. I'm only having you look at 5 of them because 2 of the elements are very similar. The inciting incident, you have to have an inciting incident to have rising action. You have to have resolution to have a denouement. So we just kind of combined some of those elements. So pause me for a minute. Watch this video if you haven't already. Then after you're done, unpause me and you can come back. So welcome back if you paused me, by the way. So basically, all stories, any story that you interact with has 5 elements to it. You have the exposition, that is where you learn about the background information about it. Here's the setting, here's when it's taking place, where it's taking place. Here are the major characters that you need to know about. Then you have the rising action. So that is all the events. There's more than just one part of a rising action. There is multiple things that happen in a rising action. All the events that lead up to the climax. The climax is the major turning points where the biggest change occurs in the story at the climax. Some people say it's the most exciting part. It can be, but it doesn't have to. Then you have the falling action. The falling action are all the things that happen as a result of the climax. It is the fallout of the climax. So this thing happened at the climax. Here's all the things that here's the results of all of that. Then you have the resolution or the denouement. The resolution is where you kind of tie things up. The key conflict, the key issue at hand, the key problem at hand has been solved, and we end the story. So the resolution is just how the story ends. But those are the 5 parts. So here's what I want y'all to do. In fact, here's the goals of this particular unit. Students will explain and interpret the elements of Gustav Freytag's plot pyramid. So in a group of no more than 3, but since you're by yourself, you're kind of stuck doing it by yourself. You could do it by yourself, group of 2 or group of 3. But if you are virtual for the rest of the week, then you're just doing it by yourself. I want you to pick a story. So I want you to pick a story. It could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be a TV show episode, it could be a video game, etc. It just needs to be a story and illustrate how that story follows the elements of the plot pyramid. So how does that story follow the plot pyramid? What's that story's exposition? What's that story's rising action? What's that story's climax? What's that story's falling action? And what's that story's resolution? You must have 5 illustrations for your story that align with the elements of the plot pyramid. So you're going to come up with 5 images. You're going to draw a picture that represents the exposition. You're going to draw a picture that represents the rising action, a picture that represents the climax, the picture that represents the falling action, the picture that represents the resolution. Then you and your group will present your illustrations to the class and explain how your images coincide with that part of the plot. Now, this is where things get tricky, is because of y'all being virtual and you can't present to class, you're going to have to do this a little bit differently. It's worth 15 points. Your illustrations are worth 5. So having 5 drawings that represent the parts of the plot, that's worth 5 points. Then you're explaining of the 5 of the images and how they align to that part of the plot pyramid is worth 5 points. And then you presenting is worth 5 points. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to draw your pictures, of course. Now I want you to take a picture of them. So you can have 5, or you can do what I did and have them all in one and crop it to where we can see what is going on. But you're gonna have 5, you're gonna take a picture of you're gonna draw your 5 pictures, take a picture of it. You can do 5, like I said, or do them all in one, and then upload it here to Classroom. Then you can type in free audio recorder on a laptop, or you can use your audio recorder on your phone. It's like your notes app, and then you hit record and you explain how your images follow it. You upload that MP3 to Classroom as well, and voila, there you have your illustrations, you have your explanation, and you have your presenting. So I'm not going to play this to class if you are virtual. I'm just going to use it to grade it. So what I want you to do is draw the 5 images. Then I want you to take pictures of the 5 images, upload them to the Classroom, and then record yourself just talking about them. I don't have to see your face. It could just be your voice where you're talking about here's this image and here's how it connects to the exposition. Here's this image and here's how this connects to the rising action. Now, I did this myself with Jungle Cruise. Over break, me and my wife watched Jungle Cruise starring The Rock. And so I'm going to kind of give you an example of how to go about this. So, and also you could screen cap it kind of like what I'm doing right now on Zoom. All right, so the very first part of a plot is the exposition. And also this kind of shows you that you don't have to have the world's greatest drawings, because look, I draw it like a kindergartner. So the very first part of the plot is the exposition. That is where we find out all the background information that we need to know. In the exposition of the Jungle Cruise, we learn that it's taking place in 1916, 2 years into World War I. We have Emily Blunt, who is a main character, who has an arrowhead thing that she stole for her reason that she's going to the Amazon. She brings along her brother, and of course in the Amazon you have The Rock. All right, and he has a boat, and you can see it takes place in the Amazon. So we then move on to our rising action. In our rising action, you have all the different things that our heroes have to overcome. And of course, here's the boat that they're on, but they have to deal with Nazis. They have to deal with natives. They have to deal with undead conquistadors who are cursed and like made out of bees and trees and snakes and all that. And they also have to deal with rapids as they are working their way to their ultimate goal, which is to find this tree thing. All right. The climax, the big turning point that we have in the middle of the movie, we see The Rock, the undead conquistadors find The Rock and the arrowhead, and they're trying to get the arrowhead. They steal it, but The Rock steals it back, and he starts to plummet to his death. But before he falls to his death, he gives the arrowhead back to Emily Blunt, and then pow, we think The Rock is dead. But the turning point is The Rock is also a conquistador who is over 400 years old. He just doesn't look as grotesque as these people because he didn't get trapped in a thing that he made to trap them. So yes, The Rock is 400 years old. That is the big spoiler. That is the big turning point. That's where we see things dramatically change. Then we deal with the falling action, the fallout of that. They find the temple where the tree is located. They break open the arrowhead, find a gem. The gem lights opens up a thing in the temple so the moon can come in and let the tree bloom. The tree blooms, and they get a petal. But before they can get a petal, they have to deal with Nazi and all of the undead conquistador monster things. The Rock crashes his ship into the river or into the temple to make it collapse in order for them to be able to get the petal and take care of the conquistadors. But the good news is that they use the petal that's supposed to cure everything, and they use it to cure The Rock, and The Rock comes back to life. And because he crashed the ship, it made the temple get in a different position, and they were able to get another petal from the tree. Then we get to the resolution where we end the whole thing. We end it by them coming back to London with the petal. Emily Blunt and The Rock fall in love with his jungle cat. Of course, they're in London, and they drive a car to live happily ever after. So there we go. That is the assignment. So what I want you all to do is I want you to pick a story and tell me and draw 5 pictures that show us how that story has an exposition, which is the background information that tells us about the characters and the important things, the rising actions, all the events that are leading up to the climax, which is the big turning point in the story, the falling action, which is the fallout of the climax, and the resolution, which is the end of the story. So those pictures are worth 5 points. You recording yourself, talking about your pictures and explaining how they connect to the plot is worth 5 points. And just the explanation is also worth 5 points. So it's 15 points total. And it is due on Thursday. So you have a couple of days to work on it and upload it here once you are finished. That's all I have for you for today. If you have any questions, please email me at pdavidson.k12.mo.us. And hopefully I will see you all next week or later this week or whenever you show back up. Bye-bye.